Just get a hold of them and you start dragging their ass out to the deep, dark abyss, you can drown them.
The Kings of the North are back for another year of the brand new Lions. Make sure you're locked in to Detroit's #1 sports network for all the news and info on your Detroit Lions.
Woodward Sports, let's go.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Woodward and Maine. And there's this man over here flexing his muscles. I don't know why.
That's what the Lions did last night.
They did. But one thing I want to say, there's no such thing as a perfect football game.
It was almost.
But the Lions were trending that way. When you hold a team to no touchdowns, when you almost get a 50 burger on somebody, that's as near a perfect football game as you can see. However, there always seems to be some stuff that happens with the Detroit Lions. And I'm talking about Aiden Hutchinson. We know what that is. And it
Terry, it hurts.
It was devastating.
It hurts. I'm like heartbroken on a morning that they dismantled the Cowboys. It hurts.
It does. I'm not heartbroken, but I feel for Hutch and
I'm heartbroken for him.
Right. And for the whole team, because this is, we talked a few weeks ago about, besides Dan Campbell, who's the face of this team? And I said, I think it's Aiden Hutchinson. He's from Detroit. He's playing high level. He was going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Definitely.
And now your heart and soul goes down. And I felt that way ever since he did Billie Jean.
Really?
That there was something about him that these guys liked. There was something about him that made him special.
Oh, his rookie dance.
Yeah, his rookie dance.
You're like, there's something the team is rallying around. They bought into. Kind of a cheesy dance, but that's when you see it. That's when you saw it first out of that team.
Right, absolutely. So now you have to figure out, where does this team go? Now, this was a devastating loss. Now, the Detroit Lions of old, he keep hating to bring this up, they would fold. But this team seems to be different. This team always seems to be able to find some type of motivational thing. So do they use this as motivation? Because now they have no pass rushers.
Zero.
Or no good ones.
0.0.
Right.
We were talking yesterday about what are they going to do in the trade market for an edge rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson,
right,
who was playing at All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year level. And now we lose Aiden Hutchinson with what appears to be a broken tibia. He had surgery after the game last night. We don't know the timetable. We've heard things from his family saying it's not as bad as it looked. He'll be Super Bowl ready in 4 months.
Yeah, but you got to get there. Don't talk about the Super Bowl until you get there. You still have to play a bunch of regular season games.
Yes.
You have to play 3 playoff games, and you have to win them all. And so I don't want to talk about him playing in the Super Bowl because there's no guarantee now.
Right.
You don't have a pass rush.
You got to go get one.
Right. Now, the name everybody loves, I'm going to say it, it's Max Crosby.
With 2 X's.
Yeah, double X.
Yeah. It's like Jerry Jones's marriage history.
Yeah, right. I don't think that's out of the equation. I don't think Max Crosby is something that's not reachable.
Are you sure? Are you sure he's even on the table, T-Foss?
He might be on the edge of the table, but he's still on the table.
That's all you need, edge of the table,
Right.
Pun intended.
Because there's stuff going on in, I always want to say Oakland. They moved to Vegas. But there's something that's going on there. Max Crosby is, professed he wants to be in Vegas. He loves his teammates. He loves his brothers, blah, blah, blah. But the other day he shoved a coach on the sideline, which I don't put a lot of stock into, but he's frustrated. And I know he probably wants to win. He knows he's not going to win in Vegas. So
they got embarrassed by the Steelers' offense yesterday.
Right.
They're 2-4.
This is home. I don't care what he says. He would love to play on the Detroit Lions.
That's true. That's the name everybody wants. And let's be real, that would be the perfect fit. The question is he available? And then what would it cost? We know Brad Holmes in this front office. Their history, while it's just been a rebuild, so we don't know when the moment is they pull the trigger. We think maybe at some point they're going to pull the trigger, kind of like Scott Harris and the Tigers. And when are they going to spend? Would Brad Holmes give up 2 firsts for a trade piece?
Well, how about this? 2 firsts and plus.
Plus. I don't know if he would give up 2 firsts, just that.
Oakland is in this. Vegas is in a situation where they might settle for 2 first rounds and a second. Is that too steep?
Max Crosby. He's the perfect player for this team with or without Aiden Hutchinson. We're playing without now, but even with, you can't think of a better situation.
And guess what happens?
What?
When Aiden Hutchinson comes back, then you got him on the bookend.
It's disgusting.
So I think it's possible. There's stuff going on with the Raiders we don't know about.
Yeah, well, they're the Raiders.
Things, there's always some stuff going on, but we see Crosby is frustrated. We see him shoving the coach and then having to come out, the next day saying, I love my coach. But from my dealings with the NFL, the sideline is a volatile place. You see stuff that happens all the time. People get cussed out. They shove. They throw stuff at each other. And I've always been told, don't put too much into that. That's just the emotion of the game. And the sideline is a clusterfuck.
Yeah. T-Foss, Mr. Detroit City in the chat. Oakland, Las Vegas.
Right.
See, we're all calling them Oakland.
Whatever. They got Los Angeles, too.
Yeah, 0 chance of winning their division this year and the next few. Max's price will not go up. Trade them Hooker and other assets so they can rebuild. Matty B in the chat, a great name. Brad better do what it takes to get Max. Sell the farm. But then Brian Ruth goes, it's way too steep for any player to ask for that. So maybe that trade, maybe the value or the Raiders, what they're asking for, it does go down. But nonetheless, you're going to have to give up something.
The dude can play. We always look for bargains. Bargains don't happen often. You're going to have to give up more than Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
You may have to give up Hendon Hooker and still the 2 first-round picks in a second. The Oakland, Vegas is not going to say, oh, Hendon Hooker for Max Crosby? Good deal. Let's do it. They're not going to do it.
We'll take Gardner Minshew.
Right. Because the NFL is not in the business to make the Detroit Lions better.
Yeah.
They're not in the business of letting the Lions rob somebody or any team like that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to talk about Max Crosby, you have to talk about something realistic. I mean, we used to have this thing in Detroit. It was a big joke. Trading David Robinson for Terry Mills and Lindsey Hunter. God bless Lindsey, who worked here. That trade was never going to happen. But whenever I hear trades here, it's almost like you want to rape the other team and make sure your local team gets what they want. So if you want Max Crosby, which I think is gettable, you got to give up a lot for him.
You do.
Because we know he can play.
Yeah, that you do.
He's got the same motor as Hutch. He may not have the people skills of Hutch, even though it's close. But, yeah.
But you still got Hutch, like you said. He doesn't need the people skills of Hutch.
Right.
He's a gritty player. He's tatted. He's rough around the edges. He's not a bad teammate. He's not a bad locker room guy. He's the culture he's what's holding Las Vegas together. Like, it's being held together by a string because of him. That's the reason they might not want to let go of him. That's also a reason why you shouldn't be scared to bring him. Like, you're not worried about a culture killer with him.
No, you're not. He has that same mentality of Dan Campbell. He has the same mentality of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Hutch and people like that. So he would fit in perfectly here.
Yeah. He would. There are some other names I want to get to, too. Let's introduce our booth here because I want to get Spenny's take on this edge rusher situation now and on the game last night. We'll get into the game, of course. But we got Chase, intern Chase, in the booth. What's up? Good morning, Chase.
Hey, good morning. How's it going this morning, guys?
It's going great. We're here. It's Woodward in Maine with Terry Foster, the Detroit sports media legend. My name is Matt Broder. And in the TD booth today, Spenny, Spencer Raxter, Spenmo Rax. Spenny, just your take on, we're talking about Hutch right now, your take on the Hutch injury and then what you think the Lions should do. Do they go get an edge rusher or do they go get Max Crosby?
I think they have to. Obviously, prayers up to Aiden Hutchinson. Hopefully the surgery went well. Hopefully he's already recovering. He was rushed right to the hospital. It's just gut-wrenching for him because he was looking like the best player in football this year, and unfortunately injuries happen. Football's a dangerous sport, so stuff like that is going to happen, but we hope the best for him.
Yes.
You got to go get an edge rusher. You're the Super Bowl favorite right now in my mind, not without Aiden Hutchinson, though. So I think you go out there and you grab somebody. Max Crosby might be a little rich for my blood, even though I would love it for it to happen.
Right.
I think Trey Hendrickson is the realistic option. This is a guy who played, Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn were his coaches when he was in New Orleans. This is a guy who's played next to DJ Reader before. He's had 17.5 sacks on a season. The Bengals are in a bad situation right now. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're hemorrhaging money when it comes to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. They're going to need to reload with some picks as well. I think Trey Hendrickson is a cheaper option and a more realistic option.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals, like you said, are 1-4, third in the AFC North. He signed only through 2025 with the cap hits at $20 million this year, 18.5 next year.
Well, I think they're 2-4 now, and I think the Cincinnati Bengals still think they can make the playoffs and they can make a run. So I don't know if that's possible just because of their mentality.
And they might not want to send that message to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, like we're giving up on the season already.
Right.
What about the Browns? What about the Browns? There are two guys that you could go after, but they're 1-5, last in the AFC North. We know about their situation with Deshaun Watson, the worst contract in football history, that they just doubled down again on this summer, which is wild. Myles Garrett, he might not be unattainable. He might be easier to get than Max Crosby. Like, he's signed through 2026, and his contract isn't that bad either. Cap hits for the next 3 years around $20 million. The Lions, depending on who, we can talk about any of these guys, T-Foss, there's no replacing Aiden Hutchinson. But this injury, it does change everything. Like, everything they were planning, he's not, I hate to say it, he's not getting the money he was going to get this offseason. That gets pushed a year or two. They might extend him a year, but he's not getting that monster edge rusher contract this year, unfortunately.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And I think you're right about the Browns because that's a clown show over there.
Clown show.
You can gyp them in a deal. They got to figure out what they want to do. I mean, I don't have faith in their front office.
Why would you?
But you take advantage of that.
Oh, 100%. You go and attack it. They need to free up space with the contract for Deshaun Watson. Their defense sucks this year too, and that's what's supposed to carry them.
Right.
Maybe you go get Myles Garrett or Zadarius Smith. Hassan Reddick is out there. That's where you question the culture situation a little bit. And he's not the Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport type of edge rusher, but he's talented. He's more of a James Houston type. Speaking of James Houston, is this time for him to step up? Like, moral of the story, Terry, is they have to do something at edge rusher. They had to do it before Hutch got hurt. Now they have nobody.
Yeah.
Now they have
You know
nobody.
what? No, I think the James Houston thing is dead.
I do too. But is this the door cracking open for one more chance?
They sent every message from here to heaven that they want nothing to do with James Houston. Now, people have been screaming his name. Hey, what about Houston? What about Houston? But the coaching staff, for whatever reason, and they'll never admit it, they don't want him on the field with their other players.
No, they don't. They don't trust him.
Right.
That's all Aaron Glenn cares about, trust. That you're going to be in the right position at the right time. We've seen him. It seems like he gets a penalty every time he's out there.
Yeah. He's not going to return to the James Houston that had a sack a game a couple years ago.
Unfortunately not.
That's not happening.
Especially without Hutch.
Correct.
This is all, it's.
You're not going to make him the focal point of your defensive line.
You can't. It's sad about Hutch, both from a person and a player standpoint, but also the team. Like, that's part of this defense, which played great yesterday. Let's get into this game because it was a statement win. Like here, we're a day early. It's Monday. Power rankings usually come out, nationally. Everyone puts their power rankings out on Tuesday.
Sure.
Let me save everybody some time. The Lions are the number 2 team in the NFL, and I'm not going to argue if you have them at number 1.
Well, they're going to elevate them because they kicked the Cowboys' ass, but then they're going to lower it a little bit or tamper down because of the Hutch injury.
I'm going to ask you at some point, because we talked about our Super Bowl meter yesterday.
Right.
They destroy the Cowboys, but you lose your best defensive player. Like, do you lower your Super Bowl meter?
My Super Bowl meter was a 7 yesterday out of 10.
Yeah.
It stays there.
Okay.
Because, one, I don't put all this money or whatever it was because they beat the Cowboys. Cowboys, I told you yesterday, not a good team. Mm-hmm. And they were injured, and they're dysfunctional, and there's too much noise around there. But I want to lower it a little bit because they don't have Hutch. You need a pass rush in this league if you're going to win. Look what happened with Jared Goff. He's back there patting the ball, looking around, deciding where to go because there's no pass rush on him. I'm not saying that could happen to the Detroit Lions, but it could be a similar situation where you get into a few games and you're not getting a pass rush and, quarterbacks start to eat you up alive.
Jordan Love, Sam Darnold.
Right.
And the young Caleb Williams had a pretty good game yesterday. I'm not a believer in him yet, but
he'll carve your ass up,
especially if you're not making him uncomfortable, making him scramble and do the whole rookie, interception thing. That's where you get a rookie quarterback. You can't do that right now. You can't do that to a questionable veteran in Sam Darnold who's playing fantastic, but he wouldn't have seen a pass rush, a defense like the Detroit Lions. Like, we got first place in the NFC North on the line next week. Aiden Hutchinson is a big part of this team's Super Bowl success. This team's success throughout the season, going for the NFC North, and then for that Super Bowl berth. I was an 8.5. I was pretty confident yesterday in my Super Bowl meter. I almost have to bring it down to an 8. I'm still up there. They're a really good, balanced team, but like you said, in this NFL, you can't not have a pass rush.
Right.
You have to. You got to get to the quarterback.
You need to pass rush, and also these young quarterbacks can run too.
They can.
They already have problems stopping running quarterbacks.
They do.
So now you're not going to get a pass rush. These dudes will eat you alive. I don't care who you are. If you're a rookie, 15-year guy, whatever, in this league, these quarterbacks, and they're talking about how the quarterbacks are not playing as well this season. That's because people are on their ass. They're putting pressure on these guys. If you take that pressure off, you're in trouble. The Lions' defense has played very well.
Yeah.
And we still bitch a little bit about the pass rush, despite Hutch being number one in sacks and everything. But once again, even if you don't get to the quarterback, you got to put some heat on him. I mean, yesterday, Lee McNeil.
Beast.
Yeah, Beast. Got a couple sacks from the interior. And he got a nice little lick on Dak Prescott.
He was looking like that Aleem from the New York Giants game a couple years ago, where it's like, whoa, that's in there? It's come. And Aleem looked lean. He looked fast. He looked twitchy. And he looked like he was going to be a problem. He and Hutch were destroying that left side of the line. They were in the backfield every play.
Right. Unfortunately, he was too close to Hutch on that big play.
Yes. And his calves were way too big that it snapped Aiden Hutchinson's tibia. And I'm not smiling.
He's big brother. But, this shows the violence of this league. First of all, Hutchinson, try to move him as a normal human being. You can't.
You can't.
The Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman, even though he was getting destroyed, swung him around with the tenacity into McNeil where he would snap his leg.
Yeah.
That shows you how violent this league is.
They're the type of athletes, like, I'm surprised there aren't more injuries in the NFL. Maybe not serious ones like that, but, like, the size of these guys, why aren't there more broken ankles, broken fingers, dislocated shoulders? It's wild. What's up, Chase?
I was just going to look it up and do it. It takes about an average 218 pounds of force or pressure to fracture the tibial bone.
That's a lot of force. That's a lot of pressure for it to just snap like that.
Right.
That's crazy. But Key Ozzie brings up a good point in the chat, T-Foss. We still need to give the defense a lot of credit because even after Hutch went out, they still maintained that intensity and showed how balanced they are overall.
They did. However, don't you think the Dallas Cowboys had given up by that point?
Probably.
Don't you think they probably gave up in the second quarter?
Probably gave up. The second, once it got to 27-3, it was over. It was OVA. But, and I know it plays into the Hutch and the pass rush conversation too. When are quarterbacks just going to not throw the ball in the end zone? It's going to get picked off by the Lions.
Right, yeah. The Lions got a blanket over the end zone.
I don't know I've never seen so many interception in the end zone. Brian Branch in the first half. That was a really great play, a really great read he had.
And it illustrated what the Lions have been doing all season. They've been baiting quarterbacks to throw into the end zone. Quarterback looks back and says, oh, there's my favorite guy. He's open. Because the Lions are peeling off of other receivers. They're recognizing that. They're reading the quarterback's eyes. And in that situation, Brian Branch went back there and picked it off.
He read that play perfect.
Kirby Joseph did the same thing earlier this year.
Kirby Joseph has 4 interceptions on this season. All 4 have been in the end zone.
Right.
How wild is that? And Terry, I don't know if you knew this, but we have one of the number 1 Kirby aficionados, TD, in our show today. Spenny has made some claims about Kirby since the very beginning.
I did not know that.
It's facts. Fact or fiction, this facts, Spenny. I'm not even going to give my analysis because I want to go hear this man talk about what Kirby and Brian Branch, the difference that they make on this defense, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, I proclaimed that Kirby Joseph would lead the NFL in interceptions this year, and he's right up there. Xavier McKinney, I believe, has 5, and that's the only person he is trailing. But yeah, it was insane. 4 turnovers between the two of them last night. Brian Branch with 2 interceptions and a forced fumble all on his own. This is the best safety tandem in the NFL, and I think they go out there and they're proving it that both of them can cover, both of them can hit, both of them have great ball skills. It's so impressive to see these two guys playing so well off of each other. And now, unlike last year when Kirby Joseph was getting some slander from the fan base, I remember you.
Iffy.
I remember
Put Iffy
you.
in the start. Iffy.
Yeah, if he's going to be the starter next year, Kirby's going to be on the bench next year. Okay, see what happens. Kirby Joseph had to make up for those bum cornerbacks in front of him last year. Whether it was Cam Sutton or Jerry Jacobs or whoever it was, he had to put so much into making sure they weren't getting killed more than they actually were, that he couldn't be the free safety ball hawk that he is. Now you got guys that can stand in front of a wide receiver, and Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold, so he can use his ball skills and his center field acumen to go out there and take balls away.
You are so right, Mr. Kaline. There's one word you did not use to describe Kirby Joseph.
What's that?
He's sneaky.
He is sneaky.
He is sneaky. He is luring quarterbacks. I mean, Kirby Joseph, there's going to be one play where he's going to be pretending to tie his shoes and then go up, boop, gotcha.
Yep.
But he's giving you the illusion that his man is open, but all the while he knows where he has to be, when he has to be, to pick that ball up or at least deflect it. So he is crafty, sneaky, and smart.
He makes good reads, man. He's the best center fielder in the NFL. Also, side note, Mike G in the chat says, what bubble butt brother will T-Foss want to get now with the 97 injury?
Yeah, you know what? The bubble butt thing might be done now. I don't know.
No, man. Kirby's a stud. Brian Branch, who I alluded to real quick, what a difference it makes having him in. I have a statement to make about him, but Spenny, could you play the Dan Campbell press conference clip? He's talking about Brian Branch after the game, who had, actually, real quick, he's the second player in franchise history to record 2 interceptions and a forced fumble in a single game, joining Dre Bly. He had himself a night. Difference maker on defense. Check out what Dan Campbell had to say about him after the game.
He means a ton to us. He is. What you see is what you get. He's a highly productive player. He is the ultimate football player. He's a football player. I mean, he gets it. He sees it. And and the safety position in our defense is perfect for him because it allows him to roam, and he's got some freedom. It's structured, but yet he's got some freedom to be able to move a little bit and play ball. And, man, you just see the sky's the limit with him and Kirby back there. Those two playing together, they're really beginning to grow. So he's big for us. It's good to get him back.
Terry.
Let me add to that. This is something that Dan Campbell would never say about Brian Branch, but I will. Brian Branch just looked like some dude off the street. Just some dude you see walking down the street. Hey, what's up, bro? Looking good today, blah, blah, blah. But he's a born killer. He's a torpedo.
He got this killer up inside of him.
He does, but I mean, he just looks like some dude.
But he makes
normal
plays.
size. He's not all buffed and everything. I mean, he's in great shape, obviously, but he just looks like some guy that you see at the corner store.
But he's street smart. He knows how to make money on the corner. He knows how to use whatever is around him to be successful. Like, that's the type of dude he is, and he's finding plays to make. He's finding
you being
situations.
too nice today.
Why?
I know
Why not?
I know the Hutch injury has you messed up.
Got me in my feels.
Brian Branch will bust your ass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's get funky with it.
Yeah, pause. Yeah.
He will bust your ass, but he just looks like some dude.
But Terry, when he's healthy, Brian Branch is an all-pro safety. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't.
He is that good. Second-round pick, number 45, I think. Brian Branch is an all-pro safety, and he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler for the rest of his career. If he's healthy, Brian Branch is, and he's going to have to step up now with that Hutch injury. Brian Branch is one of the most, if not the most important piece to this defense now.
Now, what we might see, there's no guarantee they're going to get another rush edge, but we might see Brian Branch blitzing more.
Yes.
We might see him getting quarterback hits. Him or Joseph. They've used Anzalone in that role, but I want to see Brian Branch just busting people up.
Yeah.
Taking their livelihood away from him.
That's something Aaron Glenn would do. You know, just put him in those situations. Now with Derek Barnes out, it's kind of what they did last year. Now they just have Brian Branch doing it instead of Kendall Vildor and Cam Sutton. You're going to have him rushing off.
Did you say Kendall Vildor?
I said Kendall Vildor.
Stop it.
Kendall Vildor, he was on the stat sheet last night. He had a pass deflection. But this team, led by Brian Branch, they forced 5 turnovers. That was the key.
Did Vildor get his pass deflection when they were up 50? That doesn't count.
Maybe. What? A CMU zone Cooper Rush, though.
I know that, yeah.
Fire up.
Fire up chips. I think, yeah. Kendall Vildor, 1 tackle, 1 pass deflected. How about that?
Ooh, wow. All pro.
Lions forced the Cowboys. Can you say Kendall Vildor all pro?
I did.
I missed it. I heard it, and I was looking at the
And
sheet.
you got to get the smiley emoji out there, too, because Terry was just joking. Because you brought him up, man.
Okay, no, we got to get this trending. Terry Foster. Riley Green is not an all-star, and Kendall Vildor is
Right.
all-pro. Shout out to Sam Flannel. I got to have his back. This Lions defense, before we get into the offense here at 7:30, this defense, they dominated. 3 field goals for Dallas, 5 turnovers, not a single touchdown. One of our keys to the game. I think you had a prediction that came pretty close. Making
close.
sure CeeDee Lamb doesn't go off. What did you say yesterday?
That you need to hold him to 7 catches for 90 yards.
7 for 90?
Yep.
And I believe he had 7 for 89?
I was in the neighborhood.
That's all you needed to do to beat that team. They couldn't rush. They couldn't play. They were banged up on defense. They couldn't stop the Lions. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown.
You know what this
Turnover
game
on
reminded
downs.
me of? When the Baltimore Ravens clowned the Lions last year.
That's a good comp, Terry. It was over from the first offensive possession.
Right. But, they were more physical. To me, the turnovers didn't matter. The fact is, the Lions averaged like 10 yards a play. Not a pass, a play. That's unheard of in the National Football League.
Unheard of. That offense, it's a Lamborghini with, those like mud tires on a Jeep? It can do everything. Well, you got it was a David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs special. Just like that's the identity. That's what they live and die on. Their bread and butter, as we talked about yesterday. But then 3rd and 5 in their first drive, Tim Patrick. Let's just air it out to him for a 42-yard catch. He makes a great play on it.
Well, you got to give some credit to the offensive line, too.
Oh, 100%.
We love David Montgomery because of his physical ways. My brother wouldn't even get touched. He would run 5 yards. He'd look around. Is anybody here? And then somebody might tap him a little bit. But he's already 5 yards down the field at full steam.
And once he gets that full steam and they tap him, he's not going down.
No.
Definitely not at first contact. That first touchdown he had, where it looked like he had a clear lane. The guy grabbed his shirt, spun him around. He keeps his balance and still
and then
gets in the
grabs
end.
his little belt.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to pull his pants off.
It looked like that was going to happen. That wouldn't stop David Montgomery.
No, he go out there with just his jock strap for another 20 yards.
Yeah, he's making $18.5 million more. He could care less what you're ripping off his body. Pause.
It's borderline.
David Montgomery is so like We might have the 2 best running backs in the NFC North. We kind of joked about it before the season. Is David Montgomery in that top 4? Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones. There's a case for David Montgomery as the best running back in the North. He's one of the best in the league.
He is. He's powerful. But, he also has the best offensive line, probably in all of football, but at least in this division. I mean, when you get the ball over and over and over again and you go through the line and don't get touched, that offensive line is playing some ball.
Yeah, 12 rushes for 80 yards. That's almost a 7-yard per carry average, 2 touchdowns.
That's what a wide receiver does. That's C.D. Lamb.
Yeah.
7 for 80.
He still had a catch. Literally, that offense, everyone ate again. They even made sure, and we got to talk about Jamo. I want to talk about Tim Patrick and Jared Goff, but we got to talk about Ben Johnson's play calling at the end of the game. But up until that point, we're talking a stat sheet that has receptions from Jamo, Khalif Raymond, Tim Patrick, LaPorta, St. Brown, Gibbs, Brock Wright, David Montgomery, a target to Taylor Decker, even a target to Allen Robinson.
I
guess that was with Hooker.
You know me, I got a bitch about something.
Please.
It was only one bitch I had yesterday.
Please.
When they were up 40 points, I just wanted Ben Johnson to tone it down a little bit. Just hang on.
You think he went a little too far?
We don't need to be targeting Taylor Decker and Dan Skipper. We don't need to be doing that.
What about hook and ladder to Penei Sewell?
Hey.
I don't think you need that. That's the one you don't need that.
Well, when you're up 40, you can do that, but I hope he doesn't do that when they're only up 7 or something like that. I think the Lions wanted to send a statement. We're still pissed about last year.
Yes. That's why I'm okay with the Taylor Decker play. That was they tried to get him his touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. Cool. There's something unique about that being in Dallas and with the game last year. When you're up 40, take that shot, and then maybe hand the ball off to You're going to score anyway. Mm-hmm. You don't need to get cute with it and try to get. We all want Penei Sewell to get his touchdown. I don't know if that's the moment. And F Jerry, happy birthday, Jerry. Your fifth worst loss in franchise history. Sorry. I don't know if Ben Johnson needed to do that. And the St. Brown one at the end of the game, after Brian Branch intercepted the ball, took it down to the 2. I think that was, and I'm not trying to stand up for Ben Johnson, but that was just a reminder to everyone, hey, we got St. Brown too. Right. We just destroyed the Cowboys without St. Brown playing a huge factor. He played a factor, but, he wasn't that. Jamo had a big day, Montgomery, all these guys. But I almost would have rather seen Sione Vaki or Craig Reynolds in there, hand the ball off. But I get what they were doing.
The only reason I was a little hesitant about that is you got these great plays. Save them for a game
that too.
Where you're up 7 or down 3 or something. Save it for when it matters. I get you want to reward these guys on the offensive line because they've been busting their asses off all season. And there is nothing like an offensive lineman spiking the ball in the end zone. And that's what they wanted to see yesterday. Yeah. I respect that. But save it for Minnesota. Save it for Chicago. Save it for Green Bay.
Take your one shot to Decker and move on. You had your fun.
Right.
Save the penny, which you could make some plays off of that. And Ben Johnson still will, put a wrinkle into that play and run it again. But what you're saying is 100%. You didn't need to do anything like that.
You didn't, but I do get we don't forget what happened last year, so we want to rub a little salt in the wound. And that's what they did.
Dan Campbell took that way more personally last year than I think we ever imagined. Spenny, what's your thought on Ben Johnson, on his play calling? Was that a little much? Are you cool with it?
I'm fine with the Decker pass. I'm fine with the Skipper lined up outside. The Penei Sewell one was the one that I love to see it.
Right.
And it's funny that Frank Ragnow got the ineligible downfield because he was so excited to try to get out there and lead block for Penei Sewell that he was downfield a little too early.
Right.
But Herman Moore had me and Easy on last night. Shout out to him. But he said the same thing that Terry is saying. You get a big guy out there, what are they going to do to try to tackle him? They're going to go at his knees. They're going to go at his legs. And if you end up losing, God forbid, Penei Sewell on a play like that, you'd feel stupid. So,
and that's what they did. They went for the knee. That's how they got him down. He still made an incredibly athletic play.
He did.
He might have been in.
Yeah, because you can't bust him in the chest and bring him down.
No, you'll fall off of him.
You got to go to the knees.
You'll look like Devon Witherspoon on David Montgomery 2 weeks ago. You'll just hit him and bounce off.
Right, and particularly in a game where you lost Hutch, you don't want to compound it by saying we lost Hutch and Penei Sewell.
That's where doomsday is evident, is clear. It's here. Steve-O Baby in the chat, Terry says, exactly, Terry, thank you. The last thing you need to do is make trick plays, especially next week against Minnesota. They're smart enough to know what the Lions are going to do. I think a lot of people are agreeing with you. Like, you just didn't need the extra stuff. But that doesn't take away of how epic a game Ben Johnson called from start to finish.
He was the maestro yesterday.
It was perfect. It was perfect. Jared Goff played fantastic. The running... You talked about the offensive line, dominant. Running game, dominant. Hit everybody in the pass game. Let Jamo fly, man. Let that man run. That was another deep post route to Jamo.
Hey, I always say this. Jamo, just let him fly. Just send his ass out there and hit him in stride.
That's what Goff did.
Right, and I haven't heard this, Goff doesn't have the arm to get it to him. I don't hear that anymore.
He was letting it. He was slinging it. He was slinging it. Even on the double reverse flea flicker to Sam LaPorta.
Is what I'm calling it.
Pardon?
The three flicker is what I'm calling it.
The three flicker?
Yeah.
Because of the three little handoffs, three reverse.
Right. Well.
That pass was perfect. Reminder of how good Sam LaPorta is, because that was a great catch, and then no one could catch him still. That's a tight end. I love that play. Like that perfect timing out of Ben Johnson. Fun play.
Is in the Jamo one, you guys talked about that, he put right in the bucket, right in the corner of the end zone. That was a 7-step drop, cock back, and low. Like it wasn't a little finesse throw. It was a 7-step Jeep drop, just cock back, unloaded to Jameson Williams. Jared Goff was putting it out there yesterday. The throws to Tim Patrick were nice. He was ripping it across the middle to different guys. Jared Goff really impressed me.
That play, the post touchdown to Jamo, what was it, like about 40 yards? 37 yards? That was the Buccaneers play last year. Was it week 5 or week 6 that Goff underthrew? Jamo still caught it. He made a great adjustment with the ball in the air. But now we see a year later the relationship that they have, like the timing of that all, Jared Goff's pass, where he fed it to Jamo. It was epic. And then you come right back. And this tells me even more about it. The next big play that Jamo had on an underneath route. Fantastic design play. Also, I might be wrong if this is the play that came after a Jamo drop on second down. He had a drop that would have been a first down catch. They went right back to him the next play, and he got a first down.
Right. And did you see that cocky look Ben Johnson had on the sideline? He was like, all right, I'm dealing today. Yeah, these clowns can't stop us today. But you know what they did?
What?
I bet you they did this too. They had the bye week. They added stuff for Dallas, and they got a little something for Minnesota too. So they had time to. Their offense looked, I don't want to say completely different, but it looked very different than the offense we saw the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Not just the execution, but the timing and the play calls and stuff like that. They're doing these, I don't want to call them trick plays, but they're doing fun plays. But you know what else they're doing? They're keeping their identity. It's a running football team. So they could do all the little wrinkles and have the fun and, you know, have the little clown shows and stuff. But bottom line, they're still sticking to their guns. We're going to run the ball down your throats.
I'm torn, Terry, on the identity part of it. And on the offense, too, on not just the David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in the offensive line, but we saw Jamo. This 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. It's the short route to Jamo that goes for 25, 30 yards. He lowers his shoulder at the end of it to run. He wanted to run over that. He wanted to destroy that defender. I love that mentality. Gibbs did it too later in the game. Tim Patrick keeps doing it. But when I see Jamo, this is where I'm torn, Terry. I want him to do that, but in real time, I also want him to just run out of bounds. Like, I I don't want to see Jamo lowering his shoulder on a safety.
Yeah, I get it, but he looks at David Montgomery, who's being a man. He says, "I got to be a man."
Right.
What does Dan Campbell say about players he likes almost in every clip? He's a football player.
Yes.
Now, a football player is not just a guy that plays football. A football player is a guy who's tough. A football player is someone who's not afraid of contact. So Jamo is in that mentality. He's not going to go out of bounds. I mean, he'll go out of bounds sometimes, but he feels at some point, I got to block. I got to bust somebody on the ass. I got to pancake somebody, although I'm a wide receiver.
Right.
Because every time I go in this locker room, Dan Campbell's telling me and everybody else, got to be a football player. And so that's going to happen.
That's where I'm torn. I don't want it to change, but I don't want him to get injured trying to get one extra yard. We saw St. Brown this year, understanding after some of the injuries he's dealt with, he's sliding a little bit more. He's
right.
He's making business decisions.
He is.
It's that balance of, all right, when do you do it? And maybe since Jamo just did this last night, he just lowered his shoulder, that might be all he needs to show or give to his team of, like, I'm not afraid to do that. And to his credit, he got up, no injuries, nothing. We can move on from that, but I'm not going to lie to you to say I wasn't a little bit, okay, please get up. Like, maybe just run out of bounds next time.
And next
I'm
time
torn.
he might. Next time. Depends on the situation, too. If you really need that yard,
no,
he's going to do it. Yesterday, he didn't need that yard.
He didn't. And that's how Jamo plays. He's 100% every single play, which is why I love him, why so many people love him. So it's tricky. But do you think there's a coincidence? You talked about this offense and the rhythm and the timing and how last 2 weeks, 89 points. Seahawks 42, Cowboys 47. I don't think it's a coincidence that that's happening at the same time of the emergence of Tim Patrick. Not high
That's
volume.
your boy, isn't it?
He's becoming my boy. I valued, and I thought the Josh Reynolds loss was not the end of the world, but I thought it was significant. The relationship, the trust he had with Goff, that security blanket. But I didn't know how important it was until these last 2 weeks when you start seeing how this offense is now flowing. When Jared Goff knows he has that security blanket again. It's been a quick relationship building for those two, but we saw him on 3rd and 5 early in this game. He made another big first down catch last game. It's 3 catches. I think they're all for first downs, and he did the same thing against the Seahawks. Like, there's something about having that security blanket that I think helps make this engine run. Maybe it's just making Jared Goff
I'm
confident.
not going to call him a security blanket, but it's that extra weapon that you weren't depending on, but it's there. So now, all cylinders are rolling, but I don't think it's because of Patrick. I think it's the Lions have played themselves out of the preseason, and now that offense is really humming. I also think the Lions understand their mentality. That I talked about them being Hollywood, and it wasn't because of the commercials. It wasn't because of that, but they got Hollywood because they wanted to pass 55 times during the game. They got out of their comfort zone. It's a running football team that, off of that, can do so many things. It's not a team that's, okay, let's go out and have fun and, trickery and everything, and then run the football now and then. They were in that mentality. They're out of it now. Now they're going to be dangerous.
I just wish we had another bye week. Lions out of the bye week is becoming a work of art.
Well, if you do that, then any team could advance to the Super Bowl. You can't do that. You got to be fair now, fella.
But what? Well, yeah. So they go to 18 games. We had a second bye week later on. Last year they beat the Chargers 41-38. They come out this year. They beat the Cowboys 47-9. How about this? In those 2 games, Jared Goff 41-58. So that's 71%. 648 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The team and Jared Goff, they know how to prepare.
The last 2 weeks, Jared Goff is passing the 80% completion rate.
He is. Okay, so Terry, from the Detroit Lions PR, the only QBs in NFL history to produce a QB rating of 150-plus in consecutive games, Jared Goff and Drew Brees. End of list.
Okay. But But let me predict the future for you, brother.
Oh, yes?
The next time the Lions lose a game, we're going to have to hear about how Jared Goff needs to be benched.
Oh, yeah.
How he's not that good, and he's a product of the system. But, going to have to go through all that crap again.
Oh, yeah.
So, not out of the woods yet.
So what's he? 36 for 43 in the last 2 games?
Yeah. It's crazy.
The offense has looked I forget who said it. What was it, one of you guys on the watch party, or maybe it was the post-game show, but it reminds you of the greatest show on turf, those St. Louis Rams
that
teams.
Was a caller from
where
the
who do you
post-game.
pick? Who do you is it Marshall Faulk? Is it Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Azahir Hakeem? Is it David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs in the first quarter or the second quarter? Do you go Jamo, St. Brown, LaPorta, Brock Wright? Khalif Raymond had 4 catches last night for 73 yards. Like, how do you stop them? When they're playing like that, you can't stop them. How do you stop them?
You can't. And here's the dilemma of other defenses. You don't have that guy on the Lions that you fear so much that you got to double team him all the time. What you have is a bunch of very, very good guys that you're concerned about, but you can't double team them.
No.
I mean, there's no CD Lamb out there.
No.
There's no Calvin Johnson out there.
It almost makes it harder to defend.
Correct.
Like, no one's going to turn down. If CeeDee Lamb was just offered up to the Lions, or, you could get prime Randy Moss, you're not going to say no. But when you don't have that, like the 04 Pistons, when you don't have a star, any of the 5 can beat you on this certain night. This team, it could be a Jamo night. It could be a St. Brown, a LaPorta.
And did you see how wide open people were last night?
Wide open. Wide open. Gibbs in the flat. Jared Goff does a little sidearm action. Or it's Jamo across the middle. Tim Patrick. The little screens to Khalif Raymond. There's so much more to give in this offense, but they showed you just every level of the field, every level of the defense they can attack. They now show they can attack Jamo deep. Granted, it might not be a fly route. Jared Goff might not be able to throw it 75 yards. That's why they hit him on these post routes. Let the play develop a little bit so Jared Goff can let it fly. And it worked yesterday. He hit him so perfectly in stride. Hit LaPorta so perfectly in stride. It was beauty. It was art. It belongs in the Louvre.
It does. I think I want to add another word to today's show. Trickery. I just think Ben Johnson and his play calls tricked the Cowboys so much they didn't know where to go. There was no one that was covered. Everybody, there's like 4 or 5 yards in the open. You don't see that much in the NFL. You see a guy over his shoulder and maybe somebody's right there. We didn't see that yesterday. People were just wide open.
You can't. And I know they were depleted on defense. It is what it, but so were the Bucs when we played Tampa Bay. So were the Rams. Like, it's the NFL and they still got great players.
We learned yesterday injuries happen.
They do. They do. And it's unfortunate that it happened to the star player, but star defensive player on the Lions, this is an opportunity now. There are guys that have got to step up. Not just on the field, but also from a leadership standpoint. That's your captain. That's the guy you see work every day. So now, Ali McNeil, Kirby Joseph, and Brian Branch, like Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell, you got to elevate their leadership and keep their play on the field.
You know what part of this was? Now, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. Well, actually, I am. But I think the Lions understood with the Cowboys and all the trickery and buffoonery that happens in games like this, you can't win by decision. You got to win by knockout, and early knockout.
Did they give the Cowboys any bit of oxygen after they first gave them that first punch?
Choked them out.
None.
And even when the game was way out of hand, Ben Johnson's mentality is, we still gonna strangle you.
Yeah.
So you can't move anymore.
That was, while there were smaller things you could pick apart from the Seahawks game, that was the one thing in the back of my head. Like, man, I just wish they stepped on their throats and ended it. Didn't let them get back into the game, or, didn't make it a close game at the end. We want to see Hooker and Vaki and Craig Reynolds in the game every fourth quarter. That's the new goal. I want to see them in the game by 6 minutes to go in the fourth.
I know that's your
forward.
new thing. You were texting me yesterday. I want to see Hooker.
Yeah, I did. It was less about even wanting to see Hooker, more about let's get our dudes off the field.
Right. Because you still had in the back of your mind the Hutchinson injury, which you can't change.
No.
But you didn't want to add on to that.
Like Spenny said, if something had happened to Sewell on that 3 flicker, that's turning a nightmare into eternity in hell. That's the worst possible thing that could happen. You just got to keep the guys healthy. Put in Vaki and Craig Reynolds, Allen Robinson, and Hendon Hooker. Let them get their time. And maybe you're showcasing.
And they all look pretty good
someone
too.
for a little trade. I don't want to trade players. We might have to, but man,
Then you don't want Max Crosby.
I want Max Crosby. I want him really bad.
You got to give up something to get something good. They're not just going to give them to you.
Even
I don't care who you are, how nice you are. I don't care how much you smile. Just stop with the Hendon Hooker. They're not going to trade Max Crosby for Hendon
no,
Hooker.
not just for it. Like he would have to be like 2 picks and Hooker. Like that's a lot. I love Hooker, but a team like Oakland with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, they're looking for their next quarterback. Is Hooker that? Is that enough to get rid of 1 first-rounder? Maybe it's a first, a second, and I don't know. Whatever happens, it's going to be something we haven't seen out of Brad Holmes, if it happens. But are we all in agreement that you got to make a move?
I'm going to say yes.
Something.
Right. But Brad Holmes might be a guy that when he gets somebody, he falls in love with his guys. He doesn't want to trade anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But this is different, Terry.
I know. They haven't had this situation before.
Can you even get away going at not, his injured take a chance on a player move, but you lose Aiden Hutchinson. Does it have to be an elite edge rusher? Or, is it worth it going after second tier, Carl Granderson from New Orleans?
Well, yeah, that would make sense, but I'm talking about what the people want. The people.
Max.
Aiden Hutchinson is a premier player. They want a premier player in exchange.
What about Cam Jordan?
That's another. He's older.
Right. Yeah. Familiar with the guys, familiar with the coaches.
All right, can I pull my crystal ball? Brad Holmes, I guarantee you, will present Detroit fans with a edge rusher. It's not going to be who you want, but it'll be somebody who's productive.
Yeah.
Is somebody who's productive enough? There's no replacing Hutch, but you're taking a big step back with anybody outside of Myles Garrett and Max Crosby. They're the only ones on. No one was on Hutch's level so far this year, but I'm gonna give Crosby and Myles Garrett the credit. They're 2 of the elites before the season. I have them above Aiden Hutchinson. If you go for a Cam Jordan, a Carl Granderson, even a Hassan Reddick, is that enough? We were just talking about needing or thinking about going after one of these guys with Hutch.
All right, Aaron Glenn, who we got on last year,
A lot.
is going to have to come up with a new game plan as a defensive coordinator. I don't know if it's blitzing more. I don't know if it's bringing Brian Branch up to put pressure. He's going to figure out a way to apply pressure on the opposing quarterback. That's his job now.
But how much does it take away from what they're building in the second?
Don't know, but that's his job.
It just started to feel like that well-oiled machine. You got the pass rush, even without Davenport. You got Hutch in the pass rush. You got a linebacker crew that you can trust that's very good. And then you got an emerging secondary that they've had their ups and downs this season, but they're not giving up the points in the big plays like they were last year. They can actually cover some dudes.
I think, what happens a lot of time in pro sports, for a game, you can overcome a loss like Hutch. There's something magical that happens. Adrenaline is smoking, and teams don't know how to play you now. I think they can get away with it against Minnesota. Beyond that, then you run into trouble.
You do. Terry, with just a couple minutes, we got 2 minutes left to go. I got to ask you real quick, a little pivot. Do you think Mike McCarthy's getting fired this bye week?
Yes. If
you're
I
gonna
were in
do it, you
charge,
do it now.
I'll tell you what. If I were in charge, if it was my 82nd birthday, I'd fire his ass.
Who's more likely to get fired, him or Doug Peterson?
They got the bye week coming up.
Oh, true.
And that's why it might be the perfect time. Like,
Sure.
if you're gonna make a move, it's now or never. You either lock him in for mentally lock him in for the rest of the year.
You know who Jerry Jones wants. And I think it's a mistake.
Double B's?
Yeah, the Bill Belichick,
You're right.
the head coach of the guy who turned things around for the Lions, Matt Patricia.
Terry texted me yesterday. He's like, how much credit are you going to give to Matt Patricia this game? I was like, I'll give him credit for the Hutch injury, that clown. Laborer.
Yeah.
Driving his golf cart. No, man, Terry, that was a fun show. That was an incredible game yesterday, minus the Hutch injury.
Right. If you could just, that one play.
One play. We got Minnesota coming to town. The battle for the first place in NFC North is going to be Sunday.
Right.
With the Vikings. I don't know if we expected this week 7.
We didn't, but hey, it's going to be fun.
They're here. Everyone, Wake Up Woodward's coming up in about 4 minutes from Feldman Automotive out in Novi. Terry Foster, this is a Detroit sports media legend. For Chase, for Spenny, my name's Matt Brodo. Terry Foster, this was Woodward and Maine. What a pleasure.
I had fun.
Guys, we will see you on Sunday at 8 a.m. This is Woodward and Maine.
Yep.
Peace.